Good morning. On this 4th of July weekend, I have a confession that for a while now, and especially over the last few months, I've had a complicated relationship with our country. I love its founding principles. And then this is a quote from the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I love the ideals of this country, but I grieve over our departure from them. For more than 150 years, we literally didn't mean those words, that all men were created equal. And different groups in this country, people of color, women, immigrants, people who identify as LGBTQ, have constantly had to fight in courtrooms, in boardrooms, in their own homes to be treated equally. There is no way that we believe that everyone is entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness when not everyone has access to health care or housing or even the freedom to jog or birdwatch or sleep in their own home without fear of being killed because of someone's assumptions about them because of their race. We have called our system of laws and courts and policing a justice system when it doesn't look or feel like justice from the perspective of the poor or people of color. And so many of us yearn for this time of unrest to be over, confusing the notion of peace, where the forces of unrest are still, with quiet, where the forces of unrest are just stifled and smothered. In a few minutes, we'll hear Sam play the Fanfare for the Common Man by Aaron Copeland. He wrote it in 1942 to honor the common soldier. Here's his quote. "It was the common man, after all, who was doing all the dirty work in the war and in the army, and he deserved a fanfare." One of the things we've learned from this time of COVID is that just like when Aaron Copeland wrote that fanfare, it is the common person, I'm not going to say common man, who is doing much of the heavy lifting right now. From grocery store clerks and warehouse workers to letter carriers and UPS delivery people and the people who pick up our trash. It is they who have been doing the heavy lifting. And while we may honor them with our words or with adorable signs in our yards, we fail them when it comes to things like a living wage or health care or child care or affordable housing. I believe that God is in this struggle and this period of unrest and uncertainty with us. I believe we are being given eyes to see and ears to hear the suffering and injustice and inequality that was here all along, but that we, in our privilege, in our comfort, in our ignorance, didn't experience and didn't fully appreciate. My good friend from seminary, Catherine Brown, who is a Methodist deacon and biblical Hebrew scholar, prayed a few weeks ago that we would be experiencing birthing pains of a new life and not just another false labor. That is the way of God for sure. Birthing pains and resurrection and new life. That is the way of God. But we have a role to play in that work of God. We can help midwife this new creation, or we can continue to distract ourselves and hide from the reality of systemic racism and inequality that undergirds our economy, our education system, our justice system, and our entire culture. It is not just our country's founding documents that call us to value all people as created equal. As Dr. Ruben Varghese, a member of our vestry, reminded me earlier this summer, our own baptismal covenant calls us to strive for justice and peace among all people and respect the dignity of every human being. What would it look like if all of us began to strive for justice, not conflating it with law and order, and peace, not confusing it with quiet? I don't pretend to know the answers. I just see the problems more clearly than ever, and I can no longer ignore the cries of my brothers and sisters. My baptismal vow calls me to help bring into fruition something more beautiful, more equitable, and more generative than the America of last year or the last 244 years. The question is ever before us. Will you strive for justice and peace among all people and respect the dignity of every human being? I will, with God's help. Will you? Amen.